Do you also know that medical science has shown when a patient comes to the hospital and the patient sues the doctor, they sue the doctor not because they were badly treated or they were wrongly diagnosed, rather, but they sued the doctor because they didn't feel they were listened to. They didn't feel they were properly diagnosed. In today's video, I'm going to show you the 3 most important skills salespeople need to have. And I'm going to show you, of course, you'll soon know why I gave you this introduction, because these traits and these characteristics are in the things that I've said in this introduction. My name is Iyore. Welcome to today's video. I've trained over 23,000 salespeople across 5 countries: Nigeria, Ghana, USA, UAE, Rwanda. I'm also an author of several books and resources on sales. I worked in an organization where I was meant to bring in 21 HNIs to my organization in a single month, and I was able to achieve the targets. I grew a portfolio of $3.5 million to $7 million in another organization, and I was published in the newspapers for being a great salesperson. I also participated in a sales competition where I won, and I was sent for the World Cup for an all-expense paid trip. So in this video, let me walk you through quickly what's the 3 top sales skills, or the 3 most important traits that the greatest salespeople have. Number 1, the ability to ask open-ended questions. Your ability to ask open-ended questions. I was in a business meeting 2 days ago, and in that business meeting, I went with one of our consultants. While we were sitting across the table with the prospect, she didn't have any idea who he was, but when I got into the meeting, I asked an open-ended question. And that question, when we were done with that meeting, she said to me, wow, this man is really loaded. He has a lot of money. We could qualify the prospects. She could qualify him. Of course, I'd qualified him already. I already knew who he was. But she could qualify him instantly just because of the question I asked. I asked an open-ended question, and the man's world opened up. So if you want to get a prospect's world to open up to you, what do? You ask open-ended questions. Because that question will reveal the prospect's heart's desires, aspirations, their needs to you. But the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. This means that if somebody is speaking for a while, you find out that what is deep down in their hearts will start to reveal itself out of their mouth. And this will guide you on what are the deepest thoughts of their hearts. A message from the heart goes to the heart. A message from the head goes to the head. Buying decisions are made from the heart. The decision to buy was made long ago before the prospect said yes. And one of the ways you can get that to happen is if you sell to them in their hearts. This means finding out what the real core issue is, what is deep down in their thoughts. Psychology calls it the Freudian slip. The Freudian slip means if you allow somebody to talk long enough, suddenly their desires, their aspirations will come out of their mouths. Nobody can hold it back. It will find expression. So one of the most important skills you need to have when you sell is your ability to ask open-ended questions. Now, how do you ask open-ended questions? You don't just ask, generally in English language, when you ask what are open-ended questions, people will say things like, explain to me why you're here, so that you can then give a response. So people will also say, how was your day, so that you can then explain. Some people could also say, give me 2 reasons why you enjoy your job, so that you can explain. Those are open-ended questions. Now, one of the fastest ways and best ways to produce open-ended questions that give responses, if you just say, Mr. Prospect, how has business been? If you're somebody who doesn't talk a lot, you could just say, business is fine. Mr. Prospect, tell me about your organization. He would just say, okay, we started 2 years ago. We're into logistics, and we've been doing very well. You see, this information the prospect has given you is too little to do anything with. The more information you get from a prospect, the more tools and resources you can use to sell. The prospects must train you on how to sell to him or her. And the way they train you on how to sell to them, is by them explaining to you who they are in detail. And the only way they can do that is if you ask the open-ended questions the right way. So instead of just saying, Mr. Prospect, how is business? You can use one of the greatest techniques I've discovered. In open-ended questions, the principle to get the prospect to speak and speak and speak is the longer the question, the longer the answer will be. The shorter the question, the shorter the answer will be. So what you need to do, you need to program your question to make it long, such that he will be compelled to give you a great response. For example, imagine in a meeting and I'm saying, instead of just saying, sir, how has business been? I would say, Sir, in the last, we've not seen in the last 2 years, and within the last 2 years, so much has happened in your business, so much expansion, many new projects. Can you bring me to speed on what the current things you're currently doing? Just let me know what the opportunities have been, what the challenges have been, and let's see where we can come. Over to you, sir. What have I done? I've made the question a long question. So because I've made the question a long question, the prospect is compelled to give me a long answer. So if when you go out today for sales, for your sales meetings, instead of walking into the office and meeting this prospect and saying, sir, how is your business? Rather, why don't you bring some context and make it a long question? Mr. Prospect, based on how the economy is right now, for many people, it's been quite challenging. The devaluation of the naira, fuel increase, all these things have kind of affected a lot of businesses. Nevertheless, I noticed that your business has found a way to mitigate these risks and still thrive. I'll be glad to hear from you how business has been, and possibly you can chip in one or two things on what you think you're doing differently to help you achieve this, because your business has been of great inspiration to us. By the way, I did some research before I came in. What have I done? I've given a long question, therefore, you most likely will be compelled to give me a long response. Now, that long response is where the next skill set comes in. 3 most important skills salespeople need to have. First one, your ability to ask open-ended questions. Now, just so you know, please practice. When you go for your next meeting, for your next sales meeting, when you put this thing to work, it may not come out just the way I have said it. But that's why, hopefully, you write these things down, or you want to play these things again, these short clips again, so that you can master them and possibly use them the exact way I have used them to help you in your sales meeting. Now, like I said, it takes you to the next point. Top skills to master as a salesperson. Your ability to listen emphatically. Listening skills. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know that selling is not talking? The more you talk, the less sales you would make. When you're engaging a prospect, the focus should be that you should do the listening, the prospect does the talking, not the other way around. It is not the explanation of your product that's closing the sale. It's not how good you are explaining that's making it possible for the prospect to buy. There's a time to explain. But if you explain before the wrong time, it will lose value. So you want to make sure that you spend time listening. You begin by listening. The moment you ask the open-ended questions we have shown you right now, put your life into that conversation. And this is why there are things you must do that prepare you to listen attentively or emphatically. Proper rest. It takes discipline to wake up early. It takes more discipline to go to bed early. Making sure that you eat right. It takes discipline to eat the right thing. So if you can set up, many years ago when I worked in an organization as a salesperson, because of the importance of food and how food is fuel to the body, and how the body determines your performance at the end of the day, how well you can pay attention, how creative you can become to ask questions and listen, I had to hire a caterer. There was a lady who was coming to the office every day to make meals for us. I would have to pay her ahead every month so that she would plan my meals for me. And every day, I was guaranteed to eat a proper meal because I realized that was going to help me in my sales. So take care of your body so that the moment you're in front of the prospect, you can listen rapt attention. I was in a business meeting yesterday. While we were in the boardroom with the MD of this company, he was doing a presentation to us. And these banks, some bankers came into the meeting. They of course, probably came to give me a loan or invest in his business. While he was talking, I noticed that one of them, he looked like the most senior one. All of a sudden, he was like, what's happening? He's dozing off. He's feeling sleepy. Now, of course, I can imagine how hard he has worked to be feeling that way. But the point is that by the time the client was done presenting, he was asking questions. And the 2 questions he asked, the client already answered them during his presentation. So I felt, man, he missed it. Now, are you listening so that you can be able to make sure you don't have questions? No. You're listening because, number one, listening builds trust. When you listen to a prospect, the prospect will trust you more. The prospect will be like, wow, I like this guy. I appreciate him. In fact, the presentation in that meeting yesterday, the presentation was not for me. The presentation was for the bankers. The client just said, Iyore, you and your team, just come into the boardroom and join us. And while he was talking, all of a sudden, he stopped looking at the bankers. And he started looking at me while I was presenting. And while he was looking at me, I could tell he was looking at me because I was one giving him the rapt attention he required. So listening builds trust and makes you likable. It makes you likable. Number two. So you want the prospect to trust you. See, people do business with you if they know you, if they like you, and if they trust you. If they know you because of your marketing or because of your branding, fantastic. If they like you because when they met you in person, you're very attractive, very friendly, fantastic. But if they don't trust you, they won't do business with you. And one of the ways you can build trust is by listening with rapt attention. Another thing listening would also do for you is that listening would make the prospects develop a very soft spot for you. Are you aware that in some of our training sessions, we do a particular exercise where we split the salespeople into groups, and we say things like, "Hey, everybody, all right, talk. Ask Mr. A, Mr. B. A, we split the room into groups of twos, right? And we label them A and B, and we say all A's talk to B's right now. B, listen. Then we do the exercise from B to A as well. When we're done with the exercise, we've noticed a trend. We would ask them, how do you feel right now that you've been listened to? Let me tell you the kind of things people say. People say things like ecstatic, loved, heard, valued, appreciated, felt good. The strong emotions that describe their experience when they were listened to. I would even go further and ask, when last did you feel this way? I've heard people say, my wedding day. When last did you feel this way? Someone will say 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 days ago. Hardly ever would you see people who say things like this morning. Of course, I've come across some, but not so often, or yesterday. But for quite a number, the experiences last a long time ago. Because a lot of times, nobody's listening to them. They can't get their spouses to listen to them. They can't get their kids to listen to them. They can't get their bosses to listen to them. So they feel starved of being heard. Help your prospects. Because you see, these emotions I've described that have come out of these listening exercises in our training sessions, the buying decision is made emotionally. This means that the currency the prospect uses to make a decision is activated in them through listening. The currency the prospect uses to make a decision is activated in them through listening. So as you listen to them, those things are activated, those emotions are activated, and it helps them make a decision. So don't find yourself having an argument with the prospect, disagreeing with the prospect, align. And this takes you to the third point that you need to master as a salesperson. The first one I said, asking the right questions, which is open-ended questions. The second one, emphatic listening. The third one, traits of the best salespeople. 3 most important skills. The third one, rapport building. Rapport building. Ladies and gentlemen, rapport is the strength of the sale. Hey. Man, I love this. When we say it's the strength of the sale, this means that it energizes the sales process. It propels it. Think of when a rocket is about to leave the Earth's surface. You notice that there's a very big device that's attached to the top of the rocket. That's what propels the rocket to leave the Earth's surface. And when it goes into space, at some point, as it's headed towards space, it breaks off, and the rocket ship can now fly on its own. That propeller is rapport. Rapport is the propeller of the sales process. It makes the sales process run faster. Like the turbo engine. Like you've seen the movie Fast and Furious. When those guys, they're driving and all of a sudden they turn on that device and the car all of a sudden revs fast. That's rapport building. Now, why is rapport important? People do business with people who are like them. People do business with people who are like them. This means that the moment a prospect realizes that, hey, we are similar, hey, we are alike, we have the same interests, we have the same values, we have the same beliefs, wow, a comradeship happens, a oneness happens, and the person says, I want to do business with you. If you always hear prospects telling you, you're too expensive, I can't afford it, let me get back to you, one of the ways you can be sure that you can reduce that is making sure that before you get into value communication, build rapport. If for any reason you can't build rapport before value communication, at some point in the conversation, make sure you build rapport, because rapport is what energizes the sales process. If you had sales meetings yesterday, the day before, earlier this week, and you lost any sale, check. Ask yourself, did you build rapport? Rapport means finding common ground. So you want to find common ground based on similar interests, similar beliefs, similar backgrounds. Now, before I explain to you what the examples of similar interests, similar beliefs, and similar backgrounds, let me tell you about the areas to avoid when building rapport. Because there are conversations that bring about conflicts, unspoken conflicts, hidden conflicts. And these little foxes spoil the vine. They destroy the sales process. Number one, politics. Don't be on the opposite side of the political beliefs of your prospects. So try not to bring up political conversations. Number two, sports. Number three, tribal issues. Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, your language, your state you're from, all those things. Tribal issues. Stay away from them. Number four, gender issues, gender-based issues. Oh, men are not supposed to do this, women are not supposed to do that. Stay away from these discussions. Number five, religion. You don't want to say things like, you don't want to be on the opposite side. Oh, you're a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Muslim, you're a Christian. You don't want to be on the opposite side. You want to be on the same side with the prospects. And the way you can be on the same side, somebody says, Iyore, but what if the prospect says, I am APC? Or I am this political party. Let me not say APC because of the YouTube algorithm. Or just in case. I am of this political party. What's your political party? At that point, how do you answer? Salespeople in meetings are supposed to answer questions with questions. So if a prospect tells me, oh, I'm in this political party, what's your political party? Oh, sir, I don't really do politics so much, but I align with your beliefs concerning that party. What are the core reasons why you chose that party, by the way? I want to throw the question back to the prospects. Because if I mention another party that contradicts his party, there could be an issue. And this is why don't assume, don't say things like T-Pain, this, you don't talk against the current political power. Because there are prospects you meet who they are getting money and getting business. This current administration is what is making them enough money upon which you are going there to be able to do business with them. So don't talk against any political administration. In salespeople, you want to remain neutral and be as agreeable as possible. So if you want to build rapport, ladies and gentlemen, build rapport based on similar interests. What are the things that interest you? What are the things that interest me? If the things that interest the prospect, you find out that they interest you, let the prospect know. If the values of the prospect, what are values? Values, but just so you know, when we say interest, just in case somebody says, Iyore, but I thought sports is interest. When you say interest, if you want to talk about sports, let it be that you play the sports, not the club fanatism kind of sports, but that I play football every evening. Interest. I watch movies. Interest. I like eating. I like traveling. I like reading books. I like classical music. These are interests. What about values? Your beliefs, things you hold dear. When I say values, similar interests, similar beliefs. Beliefs, yes. When I say beliefs, I'm talking about values, right? I'm not talking about religious beliefs here. So principles you live by. I believe that working in an organization is the way to wealth. These are some people's beliefs. And if these are your beliefs and values as well, fantastic. I believe in integrity. If these are your beliefs and values as well, fantastic. Finally, background. What background is the prospect from? If the prospect is from went to the same alumni, same school, his family size is like yours. If person is a single mom, you're a single mom, whatever background if you find out that the person is similar to yours, you tell the person, you align, and that helps you build rapport. So please note, in the course of asking open-ended questions, listen emphatically, I will be able to spot the opportunities to build rapport. It's not going to be that I will be the one asking what his interests are, what his beliefs are, what his background is. I wouldn't ask that. No. I'll rather just ask a general question and I will listen in for the conversation, for the opportunity to be able to build rapport by finding out the areas where we have similar interests, similar beliefs, and similar background. And when I find out and I say, oh, sir, same here. I love classical music as well. In fact, I actually have a rack of several classical songs. So you see, that way you have a basis upon which you can do business together. I remember the lady who told me that she went in for a business meeting, her first sale while she was working for an insurance company. She said when she met this man, other insurance companies were wanting to do business with her, but all of a sudden she noticed that they were both Catholic, right? Meaning that they actually attended the same um, particular worship center. And the man said, "Oh wow, you attend the same worship center. Oh, awesome." He said because of that, even though the man had other people who he was doing business with, he gave her the business. So the only time when you can use things like religion is if you observe that the person you're speaking to, he attends the same denomination, same branch, or same parish like you. Then you can align. If not, you want to stay away from it. So what I'm trying to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that rapport is the strength of the sale. If you give it some attention going forward, you find that it'll be easier for you to be able to navigate your sales conversations and be able to close your prospects every time you do business with them. So in this video, I've shown you today 3 most important skills salespeople need to have. I've said to you, number 1, your ability to ask open-ended questions. Number 2, your ability to listen emphatically. And number 3, your ability to build rapport. All right, so please remember to like this video. Remember to share with others. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe today so that you can always get notified whenever we have our videos again. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.